Hello and welcome to the Bowling University studio from the International Bowling Campus in Arlington, Texas. Welcome to the Profit Break. If you're joining us for the first time, we're glad you're here. Give us 15 minutes and you'll be well on your way to improving yourself and your profitability. Operating a successful game room is one part art and one part science. Executing both successfully is crucial to having a game room that delivers fun, values, and memories to your guests and a healthy bottom line to your center. On today's episode, we're going to discuss the importance of establishing point value. Point value is a foundational metric for your redemption games. To be successful in this space, you need to understand what it is and how it impacts the guest experience and the profitability of your center. So let's jump right into it. Most of you probably remember our game room universe model that we're using. So it all revolves around your guest, obviously. Everything's about your guest, okay? Who your guest is, what their preferences are, drives what your decisions are. You've got your game selected, you've got a game room. Now the next thing is you have to establish what's the value of your points that those redemption games are going to distribute when they win a prize. In other episodes, we're going to talk about payout percentages, which is also crucial, and then the cost of goods. Those are really 5 key elements to that game room universe. Okay, so first thing is that point value is a critical value for you to know, to understand, and it's something you have to set. And then once you set it, you're going to keep it the same way. You're not going to alter it, but it's crucial to help you setting up the game room, setting up that experience, and operating that game room. There's a lot of reporting to analyze, and this is going to be a foundational piece in helping you understand how your games are performing, and are you meeting your guests' needs, and are you providing value to your guests. So it is important not just financially for your location, but it's also important for that guest experience. And we'll talk a little bit more how that impacts that. Okay, so you're going to set this. Once you decide what you want to do, you're going to set it, you're going to monitor it, and you're going to maintain it. Doesn't mean you can never change it, but it's when you do change it, there's a whole bunch of other things that have to go into it. So for that reason, it's important. Do your homework up front, decide what you want to be, and move on from there. Okay, so what is it and why is it important? So essentially what you're doing is you're setting up the monetary value of the points that come out of the games. So remember, if you're on a card system, you're on a card, points get awarded to the card. If you're still on tickets, then you get physical tickets. So what you're doing is you're assigning a value to every one of those points or tickets that come out of your machine. Okay, and that's important because they're going to redeem those points for prizes. So you have to set the value of your prizes. So this impacts not just the payout percentage of your games, but it also impacts the price you charge, if you will, for the prizes in your games, your prize zone. Okay, so it's monetary worth. That's what you're doing. You're assigning a value to it. Okay, you need it. As I mentioned, you're going to establish payout percentages and determine prize value. Each of the different games are going to have different payout percentage range. That range there's industry standards. You have to know where you want to keep your payout percentages, and then you have to make sure that they're staying within that. So in order to do that, you have to have the value of the point. So it's one of the first steps you have to take, and you need to do it if you're going to get accurate reporting. Okay? Ultimately, it's going to impact your cost of goods as well, because again, how much is a point worth? How many points does it take for me to redeem for a prize, which impacts your cost of goods, your actual cost of goods. Okay? And it's also going to impact your guest experience in terms of the value that they're getting back for their money. If they're spending all this money and they're walking out with a spider ring, the next day they're going to have a little bit of buyer's remorse. I can't believe it. I spent all this money and this is all I got. Okay, so it's important for you to make an honest buck, but it's important for you to provide a great value for your guests so that they'll come back. And that's the whole point of it. You want them to come back again and again. Okay? And keep in mind then you're only going to use this for redemption tickets or points. It's not going to be on video or anything like that. Anything that's redemption related this is going to be involved with that. Okay? So again, why is it important? So you're going to use this to measure and to monitor the payout percentage actual for each game versus your target. Again, you're going to have targets. Say if you have a big bass wheel, your target might be 34% payout, whatever it is. If you don't have the value set properly or consistently across the arcade, that number that's coming out is going to be meaningless. Okay, so you could be costing yourself money, or you could be costing your guests a valuable experience. Okay, it's important that you know and understand the entertainment value versus the reward value. Okay, and we'll touch on that a little bit in other episodes, and you'll get a deeper dive into that if you go to the on-demand training. But that's an important concept to understand and to remember. Okay, so the other thing you're going to do is you're going to measure, and you're going to monitor those payout percentages for the entire arcade too. It's not just individual games, but it's like a shopping basket. Okay, it's no different than in your food operation or your bar operation. Different items have different costs. Ultimately, what you're concerned about is what is in the bottom. So you're trying to get the right recipe so that you can meet your targets in the bottom. And again, this point value is going to help you get there. It's going to set the stage to get there. Okay, so and again, I'll say it. Guest perception of the value that they're getting for their entertainment dollar is crucial. Okay, you need to do a competitive survey. You need to see what your competition is doing. Make sure that you're at least providing at least as much value. You're going to want to provide a better experience. Okay, but it's all about who you are, who your brand is, who your guests are, and what it's going to take for them to come back over and over again. So, because you don't see a price tag in your prize zone, right? It's all about the tickets that they're winning, and if they can't get enough points to win those prizes, then they have to spend too much money. It's not a value. Okay? So, and ultimately, it's going to impact your cost of goods. If you're doing it right, you're doing your inventories, you're monitoring it, your cost of goods could be impacted one way or the other. If it's high, it's bad. It's costing you money on the bottom line because your costs are much higher than they should be. If it's too low, you may say, woohoo, I'm running a low cost. But no, that's not good, because what you're doing is you're robbing your guests of a good time, and you're not giving them that value that they deserve to have a good time and come back and see you. So too low is bad, too high is bad. You want the sweet spot. You have to determine what that sweet spot is. Okay, it's totally up to you what you're going to do. We'll talk about what some ranges are in other episodes. Okay, so what's the correct value? You know, that would be the first question. What should I be at? So there is no single correct value. You're going to set that. Okay, there's an industry standard for simplicity's sake. Most places are at a penny a point. Is that right? It's simple. Okay, it's what a lot of places do. So if you want to do a comparative to your competition, they're more than likely doing a penny. So when you're looking at your prize zone, given prizes versus theirs, okay, you want to make sure that you guys are going to be close. Now, they may not know what they're doing, so that's always a consideration, but that determines that perception. If they have a prize and it takes me 100 points to get it in their place, but in your place it takes me 300, okay, you know, there's something wrong. There's a disconnect. So that's the standard in the industry. Doesn't mean you have to use that. All right? So it's your call based on your operation, who your guests are, who your competition is, where you're at. You know, are you a resort place? Are you are you the place in town where people come again and again and again? You want to drive them back. So it really depends on your brand and where you're at. Okay. So the important thing is whatever you come up with, it's got to be consistent. So all of the games all the redemption games are going to have the same value, every one of them. Okay, so in order for you to do that, you're going to put that into your card system. That way you can monitor all the games against each other and see what they're paying out, and then you can adjust them if necessary. Once you do that, you're able to assign a value to your prizes. You know, look, well, how much do I charge for this? Okay, that's a big question. So again, this is the start of that whole thing, assigning that value. I've seen places sign a half a penny, and that's fine. That just means you're going to get more tickets out, but then you have to adjust your prices accordingly. Okay, so establishing the value, you know, what that point is worth. I'll give you an example in a bit, but let's just assume your overall payout, 20% is going to be your goal. Okay, keep in mind that your payout goal is not the same as your cost of goods goal. So what comes out of the machines, let's just say it's 20% in this case, that's what we want to do. All of those points don't necessarily make it back to the prize zone. So your cost of goods goal is going to be lower. Okay, but this is just what comes out of the machine. But let's just say for today's exercise, to keep it simple, that we're going to go 20%. Your payout percentage overall, each of those games, again, based on your market, you know, what your brand is, what your goals are, who is your guest. Okay, you're service related, you get a higher price point for your product because you give great service. You've got these awesome monster game rooms in there, and you can afford to charge more. People will pay it because that's your guest. That's what's going to determine what your payout percentages are. Okay, so those are some of the considerations. But doing the math, here's a very simple way to figure out how does it impact my prize zone. So if you've got a prize and it's valued at $1, okay, it's $1 for that prize, and 20% is our goal on this. That means you're going to have $5 in revenue. Okay, $1 divided by 20%, $5 in revenue. How many points do I need to get that dollar prize? What should that value be? How many points are needed? So all I need to do is divide the prize value, okay, by the point value to get the point payout needed. So in this case, if you wanted to do a half a penny, then you're going to divide that dollar by half a penny, and that's 200 points. So I have a prize that I'm valuing at $1, then I should be 200 points. It's not hard and fast. That's what you have to do. You're going to take that 200. It might come out to something like 193 or whatever. You're going to determine, is that prize worth it? Look at that perception of value. Is 200 the right amount for this? You may have gone out in the market and say, my gosh, I've seen those, and they have them for 400, and the play experience is about the same. Excuse me. Maybe it's just a hot item. Okay, so maybe you can get more for it. Okay, so that's a starting point. But for the value itself, at $1, at a half a penny, that's 200 points. If I use a penny, then that's 100 points. So that very same product is going to only cost me 100 points to get. Now, the other side of that is I'm not getting as many out of the, I'm losing my voice, excuse me there for a second. I'm not getting as many points out of the machine. Okay, so that's the downside. Maybe it's not as fun because I only want 100 instead of 200. But that's the balance you're going to have to create, the consistency. So in this case, 100 points to get that same product that was 2. If you happen to be using tickets, think of that added cost as well. Okay, so that's how it impacts you. It's pure and simple. That's how it impacts your prize value right there. Okay, so the more tickets or points that are awarded to reach your target, when you have a lower value, you're going to need more tickets to hit that. Okay. It's going to be higher prize cost to redeem to reach your goals. Okay. So if you've got a low value, you're getting more points out there. So that they get the 200 instead of the 100. Okay. And you have to raise your price of that product. So it's going to be 200 instead of 100. It could be okay if it fits in your market. Okay. The downside is your prizes could be perceived as expensive. Again, looking at the competition, you want it to be attainable. Okay, you don't want to have it. It's like, it took me how much to get that? Because then they're going to start to backtrack and say, wait a minute, how much money did I spend to get that? I could buy something like that at the store for X. You don't want to encourage that. Okay, if you're using paper tickets, like I mentioned, your prize cost is going to be higher. Paper is expensive. So definitely, if you get paper tickets, I would not do a half a penny. Simple as that. Okay, keep it simple. Mention that. So my suggestion is go with the industry standard of 1 penny, and that way it's just simple, because at the end of the day, this is a metric that you need to establish and then move on from there and monitor your game room. It's not something you want to get all twisted about. Okay, important thing is once you do it, if you have a card system, make sure you update your card system. Okay, I've seen places where they'll do, they say, yeah, we're going to base it on a penny, and then you go into the card system and it's a half a penny. So it's totally disconnected. If you're going with a penny, then you put a penny for each of those games. Don't mix it up. Every one of those redemption pieces has to have a penny so that you can consistently monitor your payout percentage, and it's going to be accurate. Okay, so it's not worth your time splitting hairs, and that's why I like to keep it simple. Half penny, there's too much math involved, and how do I have to figure this out? Keep it simple. This isn't how you're going to make a lot of money or provide a great time. So it's worth your time setting it up properly, having the right amount, and then moving on. Okay, so what your focus really should be is on providing that great guest experience. Okay, and training your staff to help them out. Okay, that's the important thing. Is really what it all comes down to, is giving a great experience. So this is a really high overview of what you need, but I hope I impressed on you how important it is to have the right value set up, or a value set up that meets your market and your center, and then set it, forget it, move on, monitor your games, make sure your guests have a great time, and they're getting a value for their dollar. Okay? So if you want to take a deeper dive into today's topic, check out the Game Room courses in the on-demand online training program at bowlinguniversity.net. Plus, the courses have some helpful templates in the resources section for you to use. If you're ready to start improving your profitability, you can reach us anytime at education@bpaa.com. As we wrap up another edition of the Profit Break, remember that when your focus is on growing people, people will grow your business. This episode, as well as all our previous Profit Break episodes, are available 24/7 for you and your team at bowlinguniversity.net. Plus, new episodes are available every month, so mark your calendar, watch your email, and join us on Facebook to hear about the latest episodes. Until then, I'm John Karabatsos, and do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. We'll see you next time.